Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. I've just done a video on the other channel, The Art of Value, about Alibaba and Jack Ma. Jack Ma's commented in an internal memo. We can see here Alibaba co-founder criticizes his company in internal memo. I think he was trying to actually rally the troops, as I said in that other video, to motivate. And it's interesting that he's commented it all after being quiet. In this one, I'm going to comment on or react to videos, some finance videos about the news. And I think it's interesting news because Jack Ma's been so quiet. Has he been allowed to comment now? Is he coming back to Alibaba? Let's see what they've got to say anyway. Let's just see what they said in this Yahoo video. This is the news first, and then we'll get into some commentary on it.
All right, well, Jack Ma is reportedly calling for change at Alibaba. Now, in an internal memo confirmed by several reports, Ma urged the Chinese e-commerce giant to, quote, correct its course as up-and-coming rivals like PDD, Pinduoduo, and ByteDance threaten its dominance in the online retail space. Ma also called AI a big opportunity for e-commerce. He co-founded Alibaba years ago and has largely stayed away from the company's day-to-day operations over the last 3 years. Now, we know Alibaba shares have been under some pressure this year with the...
Of course, he stayed away for years because he was pressured to by the Chinese government. He had some was very outspoken and for comments about Ant Group and how the government was treating tech companies, and he was pretty critical. And of course, he was forced out, and he's been very quiet, seen in different parts of the world. He started a new tech company, which I mentioned in that video, or a food company, more like food tech, really. He's been into agri-tech, he's been learning, but he's been largely quiet. So this is quite a move for him to come in and start commenting.
The stock off just about 13% since January 1st. But looking back to the high levels that we saw during COVID, we are well off of those high levels. So, of course, the question for Alibaba is what exactly the direction looks like of this company going forward. We know Alibaba recently shelved the plans to spin off and list its $11 billion cloud arm. We have new leadership at Alibaba. So exactly where they are or how they are steering the company, I think, is a big question mark here.
Yeah, they pulled the cloud spin-off. I mentioned that in the earnings in the Art of Value, in the earnings call about Alibaba, or the earnings video. They're going to break the company up into 6 parts, and now they pulled the cloud IPO because, well, speculation of why, even though what they said, but it clearly wouldn't get a good market cap, and the growth has been very slow, very low, so really not a good time to do it if they're going to do it at all. Is Jack Ma against it? We just don't know.
Here for investors, for analysts at
the share price hasn't been doing well after Ma's comments. It didn't boost the share price at all, and you know, rivals PDD has been going up in the meantime. It's sort of divergent. Their share price has been going up, and Alibaba's kept going down.
Point, but I mentioned there the Pinduoduo and also ByteDance. Obviously, more pressure here from some of the rivals out there, stronger competition, and then also just the weaker recovery that we're seeing take place in China, just among the challenges that are up against Alibaba and some of its competitors as well right now.
Yeah, that doubling of revenue that Pinduoduo was able to see, certainly catching some of the eyes over internally at Alibaba, and none more so than Jack Ma here, specifically the co-founder over at Alibaba. But now, when you think about the new leadership team and how they're thinking about these individual units that still are set to spin off, that's going to be a larger concern, I think, for investors to figure out, okay, what are the actual parts that will still be remaining together at the end of the day? Where are those margins going to be generated from, and where does that trigger some reinvestment into the business more long term as well?
It makes me wonder whether Jack Ma does not like the fact that they're breaking up. I wonder if he stepped back in. It would be so interesting. As I said in the other video, it's like Steve Jobs. If Steve Jobs came back to reinvigorate an innovation, could that even happen at Alibaba? I think something like that would certainly move the share price, and is the government saying, well, maybe it's time to let Jack Ma come back and save the day, because they really don't want their Chinese company, their big Chinese companies to do, they want them to do well. They don't want them to do worse against the US kind of rivals, and they are becoming rivals because these companies are working more internationally. Alibaba's trying to get internationally out. We've got PDD with Temu, which has been a big success, but despite criticism. I've mentioned that short report that I didn't like, where they basically accused it of being spyware, and they went through the code as well, and I think there was something to that. And do we believe the numbers with PDD? How do the margins being so good, shipping really cheaply, and competing against Alibaba. As I said, the international division in Alibaba is actually doing pretty well, more than 20% growth. So it's not exactly doing badly, which they kind of don't mention in these reports, but it is actually doing well. Logistics arm is also doing well, which they're going to spin off. They haven't cancelled that. They've just cancelled their cloud arm, or postponed it. They've also postponed Fresh Hippo, the IPO. So I'm just wondering if Jack Ma's trying to get involved here, and maybe he's allowed to. Let's see what this other video says. Jack Ma memo urges Alibaba to correct course. Now, these people it's not so much the news, they're talking about it. Let's see what they've got to say and I'm going to react to it.
He's been out of the limelight, so suddenly we see a memo all about change of direction at Alibaba. Strategically placed?
Well, the fact that he has been out of the limelight, as you say, since around the end of 2022, and now...
Strategically placed. I mean, he would have known that this was going to be news. This is going to make news. It's an internal memo and an internal forum. But they have 200,000 employees, so he knew that the news would get out that Jack Ma's speaking to the two employees inside.
Now comes in with this memo, this internal memo. Well, that speaks and says a lot, doesn't it? And so he outlined clearly his concerns about what's been happening with Alibaba. He said, as you mentioned, that he wants to see and expects to see a course correction. And of course, this e-commerce giant in China, he talked about the opportunities around AI and the challenges around that as well. But he also really interestingly called out some of their competition, including PDD or Pinduoduo, which was once a scrappy upstart, less of a scrappy upstart now. In fact, its market cap isn't that far off Alibaba's, and he praised them and said they'd done a pretty good job. But for me...
That's true. The market cap of PDD's been rising. It's been a meteoric rise of that company. First, they worked inside China, delivery and sort of the gamification of buying products very cheaply and then distributing it out to local areas within China, and now they're branching out outside China. But there's some of the as I said, I won't keep going on about it, but I'm not sure, just not sure of the numbers. We'll see in time. But Jack Ma obviously is praising PDD, and he seems like he wants to, just from these few words, he wants to correct course and get back on track and get in there. It seems like he wants to get back into Alibaba.
The fact that he's intervened, it came as a big surprise for employees at Alibaba, and I think it also really underscores his concern, Jack Ma's concern, about the direction this company is taking, the challenges it faces.
But why now, Tom? Why come out of the shadows and come into the limelight, especially after a period of the past few years of a Beijing crackdown?
Yeah, well, all of those challenges that we can unpack in terms of the economic recovery in China that's been much slower than people thought, continuing, of course, these companies like Alibaba to readjust to this new, more restrictive tech environment. And then the internal challenges as well. So the former CEO stepped down. They were planning to, as part of their readjustment and restructuring, to actually break the company up into 6 different parts. And there was a bit of relief from investors when they announced that, because there was a view that you could...
Does make you wonder that he's, it says a rare staff memo here. It does make you wonder whether the government's kind of given him, saying it's okay now to come back and save the company, or just to get more involved, because he definitely wasn't really allowed to, just disappeared.
Extract more value out of these 6 component parts, particularly interested in the cloud division. And then on their latest earnings call, they actually walked back that restructuring plan. So there's volatility within the company, within Alibaba, and then there's the external challenges as well. And we talked about that competition from the likes of PDD and ByteDance.
So we see year to date, Alibaba's down, quite a significant amount. The comments by Jack Ma didn't help the share price. So if it was designed to do that, it didn't do that. I doubt it was designed to do that, at least in the short term.
As well, and that has proven much more aggressive than I think many at Alibaba had expected. And this, I think, again, points to the fact that Jack Ma is deeply concerned, and he feels that he has the space, he has the time now to be able to intervene in this way, because he sees that this is potentially a company that is not meeting the challenges of the moment.
He's been out of the limelight.
Yes, I mean, they're only speculating there, of course, that he's deeply concerned, but he wouldn't like to see the company started, that he founded, sort of doing things that he doesn't want to do if he thinks there's a better course. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see over the coming months whether he makes a reappearance and is more involved in the company. He has, of course, just started a new company, but he could do both. It's just a small startup, and valued or with investment in it at less than $2 million US. So very small compared to the behemoth. But these companies could work together, as I said in the other video. Let's see what this panel says about it here. Ma urges Alibaba to correct its course.
Cry, is this sort of in any way a negative impact? I mean, what does this do to morale when he's bigging up competitors, saying that there's an opportunity in AI? Is he meant to be sort of helping with morale or detracting from it?
So this is really interesting, and it shocked a lot of investors, because remember in 2020, Jack Ma largely stepped away from public eye when he criticized Chinese regulators. So many articles were like, where is Jack Ma? And today he makes a comment. And there are three things to look at this, I think. First is the fact that he commented, because to your point, I think it was meant to encourage troops, but then we have analysts saying that it perhaps may have done the opposite and deflated them, because why are you commenting? And the message is also interesting because he praised PDD, his rival, which has grown to be a formidable competitor in recent years, and he said Alibaba needs to course correct. So that's second.
Right.
And the third.
Formidable, definitely. Meteoric rise of PDD over the last few years. Well, I think it's about 7 years now that they've even been in existence. To be the size that it is, it's been a huge, but as I said, I keep saying I'm not sure about the numbers there. Could be wrong. I was an investor. I sold. I did well out of it, but I have some misgivings about the numbers. Just seem too good to be true, considering what they're doing, selling internationally with such good margins and so forth. I just not sure about it.
Third is the timing, because this comes shortly after PDD again reported blockbuster results. So I am not sure if it actually motivated folks, but it's really interesting the fact that he commented, I would think.
It is.
She's saying, would it motivate the troops by praising the competition and saying they've got to course correct? It was meant as motivation, but Ma's been there for a long time. I mean, he started the company. They'd respect him a great deal, whatever, finance media, Western finance media says.
It is a surprise in and of itself that somebody who hasn't been operationally involved since 2020 comments at all, and then calls out one of the biggest rivals saying the following about Pinduoduo. But here's the story as I see it. Bring up the chart and show the performance on the ADRs, at least, of Pinduoduo, the owner of Temu, versus Alibaba. And the chart speaks for itself, right, Henry? Just explain to the audience, Henry.
Since this year, all the way this year, it's been doing much better. And Alibaba's continued down, and PDD has gone up. At least the share price and also in the earnings as well. But there are growth areas inside Alibaba, definitely. It's just the main driver of their profits. The China e-commerce is growing at low double digits, and the cloud unit very low double digits as well. Both of those areas, which you'd want to grow a lot, aren't doing as expected. But there are growth areas. As I said, the logistics arm is doing very well. They're planning to spin that off. Maybe I wonder if Jack Ma agrees with that. It'd be interesting to know his thoughts. Another area is that international, where they're delivering that, and they are competing against PDD there. Where I am, where I can get products from both from Temu and from AliExpress as well. So they're competing directly there, and AliExpress, that division is growing very well. International's growing at over 20% for Alibaba.
The battleground between Alibaba and Temu, owned by Pinduoduo on the e-commerce side.
Yeah, definitely. Just as Isabel said, this comment comes from a very interesting point of time. On one hand, you have the incumbent Alibaba, which is struggling to gain ground in domestic market. It has its strategy changed. It recently canceled a plan to spin off and list its cloud unit. But at the same time, it's going through management.
So increasing competition in the domestic scene, definitely. We've got, JD and PDD and others as well against Alibaba. So there's sort of intensifying competition there, and you'd like to see more of a growth rate for Alibaba in that area too. But it's not going badly. I mean, it's just a behemoth company, and the results aren't bad at all. It's just that PDD is seen as the upstart, and the market caps are very close together now, with Alibaba going down and PDD going up.
Reshuffle as well. At the other side, you have the challenger Temu and its owner Pinduoduo. So at the domestic market, Pinduoduo is gaining share rapidly, aggressively by cost cutting and price cutting as well. And at the overseas playground, Pinduoduo is winning share by its Temu super app, and it's planning to roll out another ads during the Super Bowl mid-time show.
So it's Temu that was criticized heavily with Grizzly Research, the short report. They looked at the Temu app, saying it was basically spyware, and I also questioned, that they can actually ship products the way that they are to international customers for so cheaply? Are they, there was speculation that the model, I've heard people say, and I thought this too, that the scale economies shared that Nick Sleep was talking about with Costco and Amazon, that it's the same sort of model, but it's just but those didn't seem to have as margins like this. It's sort of almost too good to be true, and when it is too good to be true, this is not investment advice at all. It's just what I think. I was invested in PDD because the numbers look so good, but then I quit. Then questions in my mind about how can it be true. I could be wrong, and it's fine because I'm looking at smaller caps anyway. I don't want a big cap like this. Sort of not in mega caps except for Alibaba, but really I'm looking for smaller caps, and I do question their numbers. I do.
As well, so which shows that Pinduoduo is really gaining ground in the US market, in UK and other side of the market as well. So you see that from the two spectrum, you see on one hand Alibaba is waning, but on the other hand Pinduoduo, the PDD, is definitely gaining ground rapidly.
Henry, I like that you dig into the restructuring and the on again, off again sort of versions of it. Bloomberg Intelligence put out a piece saying actually this call out by Jack Ma seems to reaffirm that indeed the restructuring is still going to be upon us. What does it end up looking like, Henry?
So remember, Jack Ma ceded his control as CEO of Alibaba in 2014, and he barely entered the public appearance in the last 2 years due to the tech crackdown. And now he's re-entering the public sphere. He's now commenting in the company's internal messaging board. There's lots of analysis about this, and mostly it has been some time in this company's history that this company is run by some executives that doesn't have a close link with Jack Ma himself. But now Jack Ma re-entering this public sphere might mean that Jack Ma might have more control of the company's strategy, more company's management as well. This is something that we will wait and see.
Yes, that's the interesting part. Is he going to make a comeback within the company? He's going to take control. He sees there's problems. He thinks he knows how to fix them. He's talked about AI. Could he make a comeback because it's not going so well? And he sees that. It's just if the government, I think, agrees to it, if they can see, if he maybe you'd think if he doesn't open his mouth so much and criticize them, he might be allowed to do that. I'm sure he'd like to do that as well as his other ventures. So we'll have to see what happens. It's going to be very intriguing over the next, say, month or next year to see what happens. And if he does come back, would that help the share price? Anyway, it's going to be fascinating to see. I'm going to put a video that YouTube thinks that you should watch next. And there's also, just as I said, just made a video on the Art of Value channel about this very topic. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.